The emergency beacon from Sector 7 indicated 2 Krathnar cubs taken by predator, possibly dead. But Commander Zilax was staring at his view screen, where both cubs were sleeping peacefully on a human's shoulder, while she hummed and reorganized supply crates. "Repeat last transmission," Zilax said, his 3 fingers gripping the console edge hard enough to leave impressions in the metal. "Sir, Patrol Unit 12 reports the High Chancellor's cubs missing from the Royal Transport," Lieutenant Kyeldra said, her voice tight with barely controlled panic. "Last known position, maintenance sector. Blood traces detected. Beacon indicates—" "I can see what the beacon indicates," Zilax interrupted, unable to look away from the security feed. The human, Emma Johnson, according to her identification chip, was wearing standard maintenance coveralls and had what appeared to be 200 pounds of the galaxy's most dangerous predator species draped across her shoulders like some kind of living scarf. The cubs' tails were wrapped loosely around her neck. Their paws, each equipped with retractable claws that could shred titanium plating, rested against her chest as she moved boxes with casual efficiency. She was humming. The cubs were purring. "Get High Chancellor Jitaro on comms immediately," Zilax said. "And somebody tell me how a human maintenance worker is still alive with 2 Krathnar cubs on her body." "Sir, cubs that age have fully developed venom glands," Kyeldra said, pulling up biological data with shaking hands. "Their hunting instinct is active. They should be—" "I know what they should be doing, Lieutenant." Zilax watched as the human paused to adjust a cub that was sliding off her shoulder. She simply reached up and repositioned it. The cub, easily capable of removing her arm at the shoulder, made a small chirping sound and settled back down. "Contact Xenobiology. Contact Medical. Contact anyone who can explain why this human isn't a corpse." The main view screen flickered to life, revealing High Chancellor Jitaro's angular features. The Chancellor's expression cycled rapidly from anger to confusion to something approaching horror as he saw the feed. "Those are my children," Jitaro said, his voice dangerously quiet. "On a human." "Yes, Chancellor, we're attempting to—" "Krathnar cubs, imprint on strength and dominance," Jitaro continued, his crest flaring with agitation. "They recognize predator hierarchy. They respond to power displays and territorial assertion. They do not—" He stopped, watching as Emma Johnson scratched behind one cub's ear ridges while reading something on a data pad. The cub leaned into the touch, purring louder. "They do not do that." "We're assembling an extraction team," Zilax said. "You'll do no such thing." Jitaro's image leaned forward. "Any sudden movement, any perceived threat, and those cubs will kill everyone in that sector. Krathnar protective instincts are—" He paused again as the human sneezed, jostling both cubs. They simply adjusted their positions and went back to sleep. "This is impossible." "Sir, the human is moving," Kyeldra reported. On screen, Emma Johnson had set down her datapad and was walking toward the exit, cubs still draped over her shoulders. She palmed the door control. "Stop her," Jitaro commanded. "If those cubs wake up in an unfamiliar location—" Zilax hit the comm override. "Maintenance worker Johnson, this is Commander Zilax. Please remain exactly where you are." The human paused, looked up at the nearest security camera, and smiled. One of the cubs yawned, displaying rows of serrated teeth designed to tear through reinforced armor. "Oh, hey there," Emma said cheerfully. "I was just going to grab some coffee and finish the inventory check. These 2 little guys seemed pretty tuckered out, so I figured I'd let them nap. They were making such a fuss earlier, poor things." She called them Little guys. She was planning to get coffee, with 2 Krathnar cubs sleeping on her shoulders. Miss Johnson, Zillax said carefully, those are not pets. Those are the High Chancellor's offspring, and they are extremely dangerous. Emma glanced at the cubs, then back at the camera. These sweeties, they're just babies. Found them stuck in the maintenance shaft near Junction 7, scared out of their minds. She reached up and gently stroked one cub's head. It leaned into her palm. Couldn't just leave them crying like that. Crying. She'd heard apex predator distress calls and interpreted them as crying. Do not move, Zillax said. We are sending... Actually, I really do need that coffee. Emma interrupted. Been a long shift. You guys want me to bring them somewhere specific, or... High Chancellor Jotaro made a sound that might have been a laugh or breakdown. She thinks she can simply carry them somewhere. Miss Johnson, Zillax tried again. Krathnar cubs have killed trained military personnel. They are not... Oh, for sure, they've got some serious claws. Emma agreed. But they calmed right down once I got them unstuck and gave them some reassurance. Honestly, they remind me of my sister's cat when it gets spooked. Just needed someone to be calm and gentle with them. She compared Krathnar cubs to a domestic earth feline. Zillax looked at Kyldra. Kyldra looked back, her expression suggesting her worldview was actively collapsing. On the view screen, High Chancellor Jotaro was very still. Commander, he said quietly, I am coming to that station. No one, and I mean no one, does anything until I arrive. If my children are harmed because of human incompetence, they're fine, I promise, Emma called out, apparently able to hear the conversation. Just sleeping. They had quite an adventure getting stuck in that shaft. One of the cubs stirred, made a small sound, and Emma immediately began humming again. The cub settled. She was soothing an apex predator back to sleep with humming. Zillax pulled up every emergency protocol in the station database. None of them covered this. None of them even came close. Ms. Johnson, I need you to understand the severity of this situation, Zillax said, forcing his voice to remain level. Those cubs are approximately 120 kilograms each. They possess retractable claws, paralytic venom, and hunting instincts that activate during stress responses. Oh yeah, they're pretty hefty, Emma agreed, shifting her shoulders slightly. Both cubs immediately adjusted, nuzzling closer to her neck. But they're not stressed now. Took a bit to calm them down, though. Poor babies were really crying when I found them. Kyldra pulled up a split screen, one side showing Emma, the other displaying biological data. Sir, Krathnar cubs that age don't cry. They emit distress hunting calls that summon the pack and trigger attack patterns. Right. So I heard them making noise in the shaft. Emma continued, oblivious to the growing horror on the bridge. Couldn't fit through the opening myself, so I had to dismantle part of the panel. They were pretty worked up by then, snarling and hissing. But I just talked to them real gentle-like while I worked. Once I got the panel off, I reached in and picked them up. Silence filled the bridge. You reached into a confined space, Zillax said slowly, where 2 distressed Krathnar cubs were trapped. Well, yeah. How else was I going to get them out? And they didn't attack you? They tried at first, Emma said cheerfully. Lots of snapping and scratching at the air. But I kept my voice calm and moved slow, and they figured out I was trying to help. Once I got them out and held them for a bit, they just sort of melted. Been sleeping ever since. The door to the bridge hissed open, and Vexia, the station's xenobiologist, rushed in. She took one look at the screen, and her crest went completely flat. That's not possible. I'm aware, Zilak said. No, Commander, you don't understand. Vexia pulled up a 3D model of Krathnar physiology. At that developmental stage, cubs operate almost entirely on instinct. They identify prey species through a combination of body language, chemical signals, and threat assessment. Humans register as prey. Smaller build, forward-facing eyes, inadequate natural weapons. She gestured at the screen where Emma was now humming again, one hand absently stroking a cub's spine. The cubs should have initiated a feeding frenzy the moment she touched them. Maybe they could tell I wasn't scared, Emma offered. I mean, they're just kids. Big kids with lots of teeth, sure, but still kids. Not scared, Vexia repeated faintly. She wasn't scared. Should I have been? Emma looked genuinely curious. They reminded me of the neighbor's mastiff puppies back home. All tough on the outside, but really just want comfort. Zilax pulled up the military protocols. Lieutenant, status on the extraction team. Assembled and ready, sir, but Kyldra hesitated. Sir, protocol assumes hostile cubs. These cubs appear to be bonded to the human. Bonded? Vexia's voice rose an octave. Krathnar cubs don't bond with prey species. On screen, both cubs were purring, a deep, resonant sound that typically preceded a coordinated kill. Emma continued organizing supplies with them draped over her shoulders, completely unconcerned. Listen, I don't want to be rude, Emma said, but I really do need to finish this inventory. And honestly, I could use some coffee. You guys want me to just bring these two to wherever they're supposed to be? I can put them down once we get there, assuming they wake up. They're sleeping pretty hard. Put them down, Zilax echoed. She thinks she can just put them down, Vexia whispered. Do you have a better suggestion? Emma asked. Because they seem pretty comfy, and I've got like 6 more sectors to inventory before my shift ends. The cubs continued purring. Emma continued organizing, and every expert on the bridge continued failing to understand how any of this was happening. High Chancellor Jitaro materialized in the maintenance sector 40 minutes later, his personal guard flanking him with weapons drawn. His crest was fully extended, a threat display that made seasoned warriors step back. Emma looked up from her datapad and waved. Oh, hey, you must be their parent. They've got your coloring. Jitaro's crest flattened in sheer confusion. He stared at his offspring, draped across this human-like living accessories, sleeping peacefully. What have you done to them? Nothing. Just kept them company while they napped. Emma smiled. They were really worked up earlier, but they're okay now. Scans show no sedatives, no pheromone manipulation, no technological interference, Vexia reported, her voice strained. The human used no tools except her hands and voice. I heard them crying in the maintenance shaft near Junction 7, Emma explained. Took me about 20 minutes to get the panel off without scaring them more. Then I just reached in and pulled them out. They seemed tired, so I let them rest. Jitaro's expression cycled through several emotions that had no human equivalent. You extracted distressed cubs from a confined space. Well, I couldn't leave them in there. That is the most dangerous possible scenario. Confined Krathnar are. He stopped, watching one cub shift and nestle closer to Emma's neck. I will take my children now. He stepped forward. Both cubs' eyes snapped open, and a low growl rumbled from their chests. Jitaro froze. Whoa, hey, it's okay, sweeties, Emma said, patting their flanks. That's your dad. He's here to take you home. The cubs' growls intensified, their claws extending slightly into Emma's coveralls. Not piercing, just gripping. They're protecting her, Vexia whispered, from their own parent. Okay, let's try this, Emma said. She gently tried to lift one cub off her shoulder. The cub's claws dug in, deeper, and it made a high-pitched chirping sound, the distress call from earlier. The second cub immediately joined in, both clinging tighter. Stop, Jotaro commanded. You're upsetting them. I'm trying to give them to you, Emma said, sounding genuinely apologetic as she stopped pulling. The cubs immediately quieted, resettling on her shoulders. A holographic display flickered to life, revealing Rahil, the sector's senior xenobiologist. His four eyes widened as he took in the scene. Chancellor, I've reviewed the security footage. The human used... He paused, as if the words pained him. Gentle handling and a soothing voice. Krathnar respond to dominance displays, Jotaro said, his voice tight. Strength, territorial assertion. I know, Chancellor. Rahil pulled up the footage, showing Emma talking softly to the snarling cubs while dismantling the panel. But watch. She never displays aggression, never shows fear. Just calm reassurance. They reminded me of scared kittens, Emma offered. You know, when they get stuck somewhere in panic? Same energy. Every alien in the room stared at her. Kittens. Jotaro repeated slowly. Yeah, these little fuzzy earth animals. Super cute, get into everything. I know what kittens are. Jotaro's crest flared again. My children are apex predators that have dominated 40 star systems for 3,000 years. Sure, but right now they're scared kids who needed help. Emma shrugged carefully, mindful of her passengers. And honestly, they're really sweet once they calm down. Rahil was rapidly scrolling through data. This violates every principle of Krathnar behavioral psychology. Gentleness should register as weakness. Soft voices should trigger predatory response. The cubs should have killed her on contact. But they didn't, Vexia said quietly. They bonded with her instead. Bonding is impossible with prey species, Rahil insisted, even as he watched the cubs purring contentedly on the screen. One of the cubs yawned, revealing rows of serrated teeth inches from Emma's carotid artery. She absently scratched under its chin. The entire command structure of Krathnar biological understanding was collapsing in real time. Okay, so here's the thing, Emma said, reaching into her tool belt. Humans kind of have this pack bonding instinct with basically everything. We domesticated wolves, we keep apex predators as pets. We try to befriend literally any animal we meet. It's like a species-wide compulsion. She pulled out what appeared to be a makeshift toy, a metal rod with strips of reflective tape dangling from it. She wiggled it. Both cubs' eyes locked onto the movement, their pupils dilating. I made this while they were napping, Emma continued. Figured they might want something to play with when they woke up. One cub batted at the dangling strips, then the other joined in, both of them pawing playfully at the toy while still perched on Emma's shoulders. They're playing, Vexia breathed. That behavior has never been documented in Krathnar cubs. They drill hunt patterns and establish dominance hierarchies. They don't play. Rahil's holographic form leaned forward, his expression shifting from disbelief to dawning comprehension. Commander, I need to revise my assessment. Humans don't trigger the predator-prey response. Obviously not, Zilax muttered, watching the cubs bat at shiny tape. No, you misunderstand. Rahil pulled up comparative data. The cubs are displaying social bonding behaviors we thought didn't exist in this species. The human isn't registering as prey or threat. She's registering as pack. Pack? Jitaro's crest lowered slightly. That's impossible. Krathanar only pack bond with other Krathnar. Watch. Emma set the toy aside and gently stroked one cub's head, her movements slow and deliberate. The cub leaned into her touch, purring. See? Calm energy, gentle hands, patience. They respond to it. Show me, Jitaro demanded. Emma nodded. Okay, so move slow. No sudden gestures. Keep your voice soft and low. Like this, she demonstrated, her tone gentle and reassuring. Hey, sweetie, your dad wants to say hello. That's okay, right? The cub watched Jitaro but didn't growl this time. Jitaro mimicked Emma's movements, approaching slowly with his crest relaxed. He extended one hand gradually, speaking in a softer tone than Zilax had ever heard from the Chancellor. Hello, little one. The cub sniffed his hand, then chirped. Not a distress call, but something almost curious. Jitaro carefully stroked his child's head. The cub allowed it, then leaned into the touch. You're doing great, Emma encouraged. They just needed someone to not be scared of them. Not be scared, Jitaro repeated, his voice tight. Of apex predators with active venom glands. Well, yeah. Fear makes them anxious. They feed off your energy. Emma smiled. They're babies. Sure, they're big babies with lots of dangerous features, but they're still just kids who got scared when they got stuck. Our Hill was frantically taking notes. The human's inappropriate fear response, combined with her caregiving instinct, created an entirely new social dynamic. The cubs were exploring, got trapped, panicked. Standard protocol would have been to sedate and extract. But the human's calm intervention prevented their distress from escalating to violence. She created a safe bonding opportunity, Vexia added, in a situation that should have resulted in multiple casualties. All right, let's try the handoff, Emma said. Chancellor, just do what I did. Slow, calm, confident. Let them know you're safe. Following her instructions, Jitaro extended his arms. Emma carefully guided one cub toward its parent, maintaining contact with both of them throughout the transfer. The cub chittered nervously, but allowed itself to be moved. Then the second cub followed, and both settled against Jitaro's chest, purring. The high Chancellor stood motionless, holding his children properly for what might have been the first time in their lives. They weren't displaying dominance or practicing hunting positions. They were simply cuddling. This is impossible, he whispered. It's happening, though, Emma said cheerfully. See? They just needed the right approach. Jitaro looked at Emma, then at his peacefully purring offspring, then back to Emma. You will teach us this method, this human gentleness. Our parenting protocols clearly require revision. I mean, sure, it's not that complicated. Just treat them like the scared kids they are instead of the warriors you want them to become. Jitaro's voice cracked slightly. I didn't want them to be scared. Emma's expression softened. Exactly. That's all they needed. Someone who cared more about their feelings than their teeth. The crisis that had mobilized an entire military fleet, threatened galactic political stability, and violated every known principle of xenobiology had been resolved by a maintenance worker who couldn't properly assess danger and thought apex predators were cute. Commander Zelax stared at his incident report for the 4th time, trying to find words that wouldn't make him sound insane. The blinking cursor mocked him from the line reading, Crisis Resolution Method. He typed. Human maintenance worker Emma Johnson employed species-inappropriate caregiving behaviors that resulted in successful retrieval of High Chancellor's offspring with 0 casualties. He deleted it, typed again. Standard protocols suspended due to human pack bonding override of threat assessment parameters. That would have to do. This report would change first contact procedures empire-wide. He was creating an entirely new classification. Human pack bonding response overrides threat assessment. Approach with extreme caution and minimal intervention. Down in the maintenance sector, High Chancellor Jotaro was negotiating with Emma. "The royal nurseries require your expertise," he said, both cubs now clinging to him but constantly looking back at Emma. "Our caretakers have maintained Krathnar traditions for millennia, but clearly our methods need adjustment." "You want me to teach people how to be nice to their kids?" Emma asked, tucking her datapad away. "I want you to teach us how to prevent our children from becoming emotionally traumatized warriors before they reach adolescence," Jotaro corrected. "Your human gentleness approach appears to have merit." One of the cubs chirped and reached toward Emma. She walked over and scratched behind its ear ridges. "Hey, buddy, you're gonna go home now, okay? Be good for your dad." The cub leaned into her hand, purring. "They've imprinted on you," Vexia said, still taking notes. "They'll want regular contact." "Yeah, I can babysit," Emma said with a shrug. "I mean, if you need someone to watch them sometimes. They're pretty sweet once you get to know them." "Babysit," Jotaro repeated. "You would voluntarily spend time with them." "Sure, beats organizing inventory. Plus, they remind me of my neighbor's kids back on Earth. Same energy level, always getting into trouble, need lots of attention." She was comparing his offspring to human children. The High Chancellor of the Krathnar Empire was standing here, listening to a maintenance worker compare apex predators to human children. And the worst part was that she was right. "Same time next week?" Emma asked cheerfully. "I'll bring some better toys, maybe some snacks if you tell me what they eat." "Raw creche meat," Jotaro said faintly. "They consume approximately—" "Cool, I'll figure something out." Emma checked her datapad. "Oh man, I still have 6 sectors to finish, and I've got that valve replacement scheduled in Junction 12. Today's been wild." The galactic incident that nearly triggered a military conflict across 40 systems was wild. Zillax muttered over the comm, still typing his report. "Commander, we're standing down all military units," Kaeldra reported. "The Chancellor has declared the situation resolved." Resolved. By a human who thought scared kittens was an appropriate comparison for the galaxy's most feared predator species. Emma was back to organizing supply crates, the cubs watching her with what could only be described as affection as their father carried them toward the transport bay. She hummed while she worked, completely unfazed by the fact that she'd just revolutionized Krathnar child-rearing practices. "You know," Emma called out to Jotaro as he was leaving, "they probably just needed more hugs growing up. Most behavior problems come from kids not feeling safe and loved." The High Chancellor paused. His cubs looked up at him with those large eyes, the same eyes that struck terror into enemy forces, and made small, contented sounds. "Perhaps you're right," he said quietly. On the bridge, Zillax watched the security feeds. The human had returned to her mundane work. The cubs were peacefully leaving with their parent. The military stood down. A galactic crisis had been averted because a human couldn't properly recognize danger and treated lethal predators like beloved pets. He added a final note to his report. "Recommend all personnel avoid assuming humans understand danger appropriately. They don't. This somehow works consistently in their favor. Further study required." Arheel's hologram appeared one last time. "Commander, I'm submitting a proposal to establish a human interspecies interaction study. If this pack bonding response can diffuse situations with Krathnar, Imagine the implications for other species conflicts. The implications, Zilak said slowly, are that humans will accidentally befriend every dangerous species in the galaxy because they lack appropriate survival instincts. Yes, Rahil agreed. Isn't it fascinating? Emma's voice came over the comm, cheerful and oblivious. Hey, whoever's listening, you guys want me to check on the Cubs next week? I don't mind. They're honestly easier than rush hour at the supply depot. She was comparing Krathnar Cubs to supply depot logistics. Zilax closed his report and leaned back in his chair, watching Emma Johnson hum and organize boxes like she hadn't just rewritten centuries of xenobiological understanding. The Cubs were visible on another screen, still looking back toward the maintenance sector as their father carried them away. Humans. They would probably try to domesticate the entire galaxy, one inappropriate fear response at a time. Same time next week, Ms. Johnson, Zilax said into the comm. And bring those snacks you mentioned. Apparently we have a lot to learn. Awesome, Emma replied. Oh, and maybe someone can show me what other species are on this station. I bet there are lots of interesting people to meet. Kaldra looked at Zilax with an expression of pure horror. Absolutely not, Zilax said firmly. Then, quieter, let's see how the Krathnar Cubs work out first. But he knew, they all knew, that it was only a matter of time before Emma Johnson befriended something else that should have killed her. Because that's what humans did. They saw teeth and claws and venom and somehow concluded, friend-shaped. And the truly terrifying part? It worked.